anyone cannot calculate nothing about M from W. This because this is the property of stream cipher that I have already stated in the last class. Stream cipher, bitwise XOR meaning stream cipher. So if you do not know the key, you cannot get any bit of the message. So this is simply actually equivalent to a stream cipher, where this is the message and this is the key and this is the cipher text. So in W, we are masking the message with sigma. So the decryptor, the receiver of the message, must get sigma to decrypt it. How can he get sigma? Now see, sigma is actually hidden inside V. We are sending all of the three parts, U, V and W. Now inside W, see, when I will send this C to the receiver, receiver must get the message back. Decryption. How can he get? So from this W, he has to find out M. And that he can do if he can get, only if he can get sigma. This only is very important. If he can get sigma and only if he can get sigma. There is no other way to get M from W. Now how can he get sigma? Sigma is actually masked inside V. So he needs to find out sigma from V. Now the question is, how can he get this sigma from V? Of course he needs to get this thing. No, H1 is a global function, anyone can get H1. So to be specific, he needs to get G power R. He needs to get GID power R. So can't we say indirectly in two steps that we are hiding the message with the help of GID power R? In two steps we are doing it, but we are actually hiding the message inside GID power R. If you are able to find GID power R, you are able to find the message. If you are unable to find G power R, no way you can find the message. Both of these two properties are important that I said. If you are able to find G power R, then you are able to find message. This is regarding the correctness proof. We have to now show how the decryptor will be able to find G power R. That is sufficient to prove that decryptor can decrypt it. I mean the receiver can decrypt it. Now that is the only way to find M is the security part. That the attacker cannot decrypt it, because this is the property of stream cipher. That without getting the mask, you can get no information about the message from a stream cipher encryption. Getting the point? So to prove the security property, what I have to prove? Getting G power R is hard for the adversary. That I have to prove. I have to prove that adversary can no way get G power R. That means it is very hard to get G power. That will prove later. And before that we will prove that our recipient can easily calculate G power R. Now coming to that point, how the receiver can calculate G power R. I'm coming. Now, so that the receiver can calculate G power R, the encryptor is sending also another part U. Instead of V and W, it is also sending U, which is, see, G power R is what actually? See, G power R is what? G is what? E of QID PPOP. This PPOP is publicly known to everybody. QID is public or not? Public, because this function is public. ID is public. So QID also anyone can calculate. Only the relation is that QID to ID is a unique mapping. For an ID, you are getting a unique QID, and because of the pre-image resistance, given one QID, it is very difficult to find another ID whose QID is also same. So roughly we can assume that there is one-to-one relationship, ID to QID. Now QID is known, PPOP is known, so anyone can calculate GID also. Attacker also can calculate GID. Only you have to calculate GID power R to be successful in this decryption. Now, R is what? R is actually randomness. So see the analogy of this mechanism with the Elgamal encryption scheme that we have discussed in the last class. So this was our Elgamal encryption scheme, if you remember. So what we are doing here in the Elgamal, this is a public encryption scheme, elliptic curve based, but this is depending on traditional certificate because the public key is different from identity. So what we are doing here is that you see message we are masking. Here also message we are masking inside C2. The mask is r.q. This r.q the decryptor should be able to find. This is correctness. And r.q the adversary should not be able to find. It is hard for the adversary to find it. This is security. Now we are sending one item C1 which we call hint. Hint regarding what? R. So that the decryptor should be able to find out the mask. Adversary should not be able to find the mask. If we directly send R, then adversary is also getting R. He can also calculate r.q. So we are not sending directly R. We are sending r.p, and we have shown that how this decryptor from r.p is able to get r.q. And this is the proof. r.q is equal to, because q here is d.p, so this is r.d.p, and so this r.q is r.d.p, and the adversary is doing d into c1, so d into c1 is d into r into p, so r.p, r.p, masks they are cancelling, XOR, XOR, right? Come back again. So this encryption scheme, identity based encryption scheme, when they designed it, the scientist Bonnet, he kept in his mind the main Elgamal encryption scheme. Then he followed the same approach actually, that I have to mask the message with something and then I will send some hint regarding the mask. That hint is r.p here. Same as that Elgamal, r.p. Only the difference is that r is not just a random number. First we have taken a random string and bit string, and then we have mixed the message and random string both to generate this random number r. This is only the difference. Otherwise there is no difference. Then r.p is the hint. Feeling the similarity with Elgamal or not first? Huh? Moreover, you observe here this GID is constant if the ID is constant. Meaning if you repeat this process many times for many different messages, you don't have to repetitively execute the step 4 because GID will not change every time until you change ID. Meaning for the same recipient, if you send 1 million messages, you have to calculate only once this bilinear map. That is very important. Why? Because this bilinear, last class I have discussed, there are two problems of identity based cryptography. One is security part, key escrow problem. Second part is the cost of bilinear operation. Actual analysis says that bilinear map is approximately 8 times more time consuming than point multiplication or modular exponentiation. So here we are happy to see that this algorithm only once uses the bilinear map for a particular entity unless that entity changes its identity. Until you change your identity, I do not need to calculate the bilinear map. And more interestingly, we will see in the decryption process there is no use of bilinear map. In a decryption algorithm, there is no use of bilinear map. So the cost of encryption is also remaining low, cost of decryption is also remaining low. So suitable for use in resource constrained networks. Now how would you get this thing G power R? It's very easy. What is G power R? Let us see. So every time you are executing this algorithm, this GID is not changing, only the R is changing, even if the message is constant. What is GID power R? Come to the next slide. What is GID power R? GID is EQID PPUB. GID is EQID Ppub whole to the power R. Now what is Ppub? In the extraction, in the setup phase, we have done it. Ppub is S dot P. So this is S dot P. So this S will go outside. So this is QID P power SR. So this S again we can take here inside this. Again same thing. So S into QID, R into P. Now this R into P is nothing but the hint U, and S into QID in the extraction phase, the private key. So GID power R is nothing but E of DID U. Now the decryptor is having both DID and U in its hand. U has been sent as a part of the ciphertext hint, and DID is its own private key. So it can calculate GID power R. So it can decrypt it. This is all about the correctness proof. So it will do this thing, then do the the rest of the steps. So go back to the previous slide. The rest of the steps is very easy because it has only calculated GID power R by doing this thing. Then it has to calculate again has one of this thing. So it will then XOR that item with V so that it gets sigma. Then that output again it should XOR with W so that it gets M. So it is doing exactly the same thing. It is first taking hash 1 of this input, XORing with V, whatever it is getting, taking H4 of that and XORing with W, then it will get M. If you analyze this thing, you can understand easily later. Now what about the security? This is the correctness. Again, then what we have to prove? Adversary cannot calculate GID power R. This is the security proof that you have to understand carefully. Can you prove this thing? Adversary cannot calculate GID power R. See, this is GID power R. See, it should be proved based on some of the known hard problems. And what are the known hard problems that we have discussed? Discrete log problem, 2 versions. Diffie-Hellman problem, 2 versions, and bilinear Diffie-Hellman problem on 1 version only. Bilinear Diffie-Hellman problem. Now I am also giving you the hint that the security depends on the difficulty of bilinear Diffie-Hellman problem. Okay, this I have discussed or not in the last class? Bilinear Diffie-Hellman problem I have not discussed in the last class, no? Okay. Bilinear Diffie-Hellman problem. Now please sit down. So you remember the discrete log problem and Diffie-Hellman problems? So now a new type of hard problem we are introducing, which is known as bilinear Diffie-Hellman problem. Discrete log is a hard problem. Diffie-Hellman problem is a hard problem. Now another type of problem we are introducing, which is also believed to be hard. This is called bilinear Diffie-Hellman problem. Like Diffie-Hellman problem comes from Diffie-Hellman protocol. Similarly, bilinear Diffie-Hellman problem comes from bilinear Diffie-Hellman protocol. So what is bilinear Diffie-Hellman protocol? Of course, it is a protocol to achieve some objective. Like Diffie-Hellman protocol is to achieve some objective. What is the objective of Diffie-Hellman protocol? To establish a shared secret key between 2 parties. What is the objective of bilinear Diffie-Hellman protocol? To establish a shared secret key among 3 parties. So it is also known as 3-party key agreement protocol. So this is the bilinear Diffie-Hellman protocol based on elliptic curve cryptography, and it uses the bilinear map, bilinear function. The protocol is based on the bilinear function. That's why it is called bilinear Diffie-Hellman. What is the protocol? See here, like in the Diffie-Hellman protocol, elliptic curve version, A is choosing a random secret small a, B is choosing a random secret B, and small c. These are their random secrets. Then A is generating AP, B is generating BP, P is the generator point, publicly known, C is generating CP. See, according to the elliptic curve discrete log problem from AP, BP and CP, it is hard to find A and B and C. Now, A is sending this AP to B and C, B is sending this BP to A and C, and C is sending CP to A and B. Then, how all of the three are calculating the same shared secret key? A is calculating the shared secret key in this way, E of whatever it has received to the power its own secret. BP and CP it received to the power its own secret. Apply the rule of bilinearity. So, it is A, B and C goes outside. So, it is ABC. Similarly, you check all will generate EPP power ABC. So, this EPP power ABC is the shared secret key. This is about the correctness proof of the protocol. Now, what about the security? That means we have to prove what? Adversary will not be able to calculate EPP power ABC. Now, adversary knows what? Which things are known to the adversary? AP, BP, CP और कुछ नहीं? Nothing? P. P is also known. So, the problem is problem of the adversary. Given P, AP, BP, CP, what you have to do? Find or compute EPP power ABC. So, it is what type of problem? Computation problem. So, bilinear Diffie-Hellman problem is a computation problem. Given these things, you have to find this thing. Now see, interesting, like we have proved when we were discussing Diffie-Hellman protocol, that if discrete log is easy, then Diffie-Hellman is easy. Here it can be proved that if Diffie-Hellman is easy, then bilinear Diffie-Hellman is also easy. Or if discrete log is easy, then bilinear Diffie-Hellman is easy. You can read these arguments. Because from these given values, anyone can calculate EPP power AB, because AB is given, no, not AB is given, sorry, APBP is given, E of APBP is EPP power AB, E of AP comma BP is EPP power AB. So, EPP of AB, EPP of BC, EPP of CA is given, and you have to calculate EPP power AB. Now, if you can calculate A from AP or B from BP, then just raise the power. Suppose you are able to find C from CP, then raise C to the power this, then you are getting A power ABC. But finding C from CP is discrete log, which is hard. So, understanding this statement, BDHP is no harder than ECDLP. This is elliptic curve discrete log problem. No harder than meaning? No harder than ECDLP. Meaning if ECDLP is not hard, then this is not hard. Because using ECDLP in polynomial time, I can solve this problem. If you give me an algorithm, polynomial time algorithm to solve discrete log, then I can solve this problem in polynomial time using your algorithm. So that's why it is saying that BDHP is not harder than ECDLP. But again remember, the reverse statement is not true. That means it does not say that if elliptic curve is hard, then this is hard. But as I have written here, no other polynomial time algorithm found so far. Nobody has invented any other algorithm other than doing in this way to find EPP power ABC from these given values. So, bilinear Diffie-Hellman is supposed to, believed to be, again believed to be, not proved, because nobody has found any algorithm. If that is solved, then this is solved. However, if that is not solved, whether there is any other way or not, nobody has found till date. So, it is believed to be hard problem, and the security of identity based encryption depends on bilinear Diffie-Hellman problem that we will show now. But before that, you have understood what is bilinear Diffie-Hellman problem or not. Given, other way you can say, given APBP CP, you have to calculate EPP power ABC. or you can say given EPP power AB, EPP power BC, EPP power CA, you have to calculate EPP power ABC is hard. See, this is GID power R. This is EQID power P power that this already we have explained. Now I am proving that this depends on bilinear Diffie-Hellman problem. How? QID is a point on the elliptic curve. What is QID? Recall again. The point corresponding to the identity is a point on the elliptic curve. So if this is the point on the elliptic curve and P is the generator of the elliptic curve, I can say that QID is some x into P for some x in FP or FQ for some scalar x. Understood? This much assumption is sufficient. QID is some x into P. Now, what is GID power R? GID power R is EQID P power R. Now, so P से S यहाँ चला गया, तो P रहा यहाँ पे S power R. Now, this QID is XP. So again, P रहा यहाँ पे, X चला गया उधर. So हमको क्या मिला? EPP power XSR. So the adversary needs to find this thing. EPP power XSR. Now let us see, we are finding an analogy with the BDHP problem actually. Now हमको उस problem को state करने के लिए क्या चाहिए कि adversary has EPP power XS, adversary has EPP power SR, EPP power XR. Then he needs to find EPP power XR. Then we can state that this is BDHP problem, this is hard, so solved, secure. So let us see whether adversary can get EPP power XS, EPP power SR and EPP power. He can already. How? What is EPP power XS? XP, SP. What is XP? QID. What is SP? PPUB. QID is public. PPUB is public. Adversary can get. What is EPP power SR? SP, RP. What is SP? PPUB. What is RP? U. Adversary is having PPUB, having U. U is the part of the ciphertext. PPUB is public parameter. XR, XP, RP, XP is QID, RP is U is a hint. Adversary can get all these things. So the problem is given these things, you have to find EPP power XSR, which is BDHP problem, which is believed to be hard. So as long as BDHP is hard, IB is hard. This is the way to prove that IB, this is the basic version, IB is secure. See why the adversary cannot calculate it? Because the adversary does not know either X or S or R. If the adversary or anyone knows any one of these three items, X, S and R, it will be able to calculate this thing. Now S is the master secret of the PKG. So PKG is able to calculate everything. R is the secret, random secret chosen by the encryptor. It is known to the encryptor only. And from R.P you cannot calculate R because of the elliptic curve discrete log. And what is X? This is actually the factor inside QID. Meaning if I say that I am factoring QID, P into what? P is the generator. And this is the factor of QID. Now I am first generating QID by using a hash function from the identity. Then trying to find. This is also elliptical discrete log problem. Getting the point? Now somehow if the adversary gets X, then you will be able to decrypt it, remember. Now getting the point? Of course you will be able to decrypt it. Now what are the ways that adversary can get X? How he can get X? If there is there any possibility? When I say that this communication is not secure, only stating that the communication is not secure is meaningless, because security has different objectives like confidentiality, authenticity, integrity, and non-repudiation. Which property is violated? Confidentiality is not ensured or authenticity is not. In that way you have to state that this communication is not secure. Similarly, stating H3 is not secure is not sufficient, meaningless, because a hash function requires three properties to be ensured. Then only the three properties are pre-image resistance, second pre-image resistance, and collision resistance. Then you tell me which property was saying that if this is not ensured. No. If anyone is not secure, then your objective will be fulfilled, or you need one property and specific property not to be ensured.
At least one thing is lacking, we can say that it is
Then you tell me if pre-image resistance is not secure, how it is threat to this IB. Bolo. If pre-image resistance is not ensured, then there will be one type of threat to this IB encryption system. If second pre-image resistance is not ensured, then another type of threat will be there to this identity-based encryption system. Collision resistance is not important here. How? I am showing one by one. Suppose, let us first consider second pre-image resistance. So, if second pre-image resistance is not secured, not ensured, then being an attacker, observing one's ID, I can invent another ID, which is the second pre-image, and tell, for example, I am observing that one ID is Sujit. One ID is Sujit. And from this, I found another ID XYZ, the hash of both are same. H3 of Sujit and H3 of XYZ is same. Because second pre-image resistance is not ensured, so I can be easily able to find. Then I'll tell that XYZ is my identity to the authority, PKG. PKG will give me a private key which will be the same as the private key of Sujit. Because the identity is same, H3 of identity is same. So S into that, and this will be QID. So the QIDs will be same. So S into QIDs also will be the same. My private key and his private key will be same. So all the messages, confidential messages you send to him, I will be able to decrypt. Fine. This is threat. Understood? Now, what problem is there if pre-image resistance is not ensured? If pre-image resistance is not ensured, then the attacker can become a valid member of the network without approaching to the PKG. This you have to understand carefully. See, think about the traditional PKI systems, when I am having a certificate given by IIIT authority, meaning public key certificate, this proves two things. The first thing is that this is my public key. The second thing, it proves that I am a valid member of IIIT. The second thing you are forgetting. Second thing is also important, that it proves that I am a valid member of the network. Now, in identity-based encryption system, there is no certificate, and the public key and identity are same. So here, if I am able to generate a valid signature, or if I am able to decrypt your message, that proves what? I am a valid member of the network. That proves that I am a valid member of the network. This first part is invalid now, meaningless, public key and identity are same. But the second part is proved that I am a valid member, otherwise I will not be able to decrypt using that identity. But see, if pre-image resistance is not ensured, then anyone can become a part of the network. How? I will do in this way. I choose some x dot first, any random number. Then multiply this x dash by the generator point P. Let's say this is QID dash. I can do this thing. Now, since H3 is not pre-image resistance, from this QID dash I can find ID dash. Now I am doing it in the other way. I am not calculating QID from ID. I am calculating ID from QID. Now since it is pre-image, not pre-image resistance, so I will be able to find some identity whose H3 is this one, for which I already know X dash. So even if I don't have private key, if you send me a message, I do not need a private key generated by the PKG. I have X, so I can decrypt. Because here we have seen either I have X or I have S or I have R, I can decrypt. Now I have X, so I can decrypt. So I have not even approached to the PKG to get the private key, but I am still able to decrypt the messages encrypted for me using that identity. And since identities are random strings, you cannot detect whether that identity is a valid identity or fake identity. Only that it should be unique. Getting the problem. So without getting any private key from the PKG, I will be able to decrypt it. So pre-image resistance and second pre-image resistance both should be ensured. Understood? Now the key escrow problem last day we have already discussed. If the master secret S of the PKG is disclosed, then it can get the private keys of all the entities, and here also we are observing that it can decrypt all the messages. This is known as key escrow problem. For that, to solve this thing, certificateless public key cryptography has been proposed. Here additional these things I have already said, explained to you last class. So here the partial key concept is there. So setup is as in the previous case, encryption and decryption is also as in the previous case, and we are generating half key and then combining the half key we are obtaining from the PKG, half key now it is called KGC. Half key we are generating, then combining the two half keys to generate the full private key, and from full private key I am generating the full public key. And for next slide, for encryption I need identity and public key both. Remember, unlike identity based encryption which requires only the identity, I need identity and public key both for encryption. Now the mathematics is not also included here in this slide. The mathematics is given on those notes. Now it is your responsibility to understand the mathematics of CLPKC from those notes, because if you have understood this much, then it is very easy to understand the rest of the notes. All are uses of that bilinear map in different ways, and security is based on that security of bilinear diffie-Hellman problem and discrete log, elliptic curve discrete log. So now your task will be, I will give you this slide, this PPT. You read these PPT and those notes. Understand this carefully. Now, why this bilinear pairing is so important? See, if you can understand this and my notes, you will be able to understand any paper, any conference paper, any journal paper, whether it is IEEE transaction or any other paper, which are using bilinear map. Bilinear pairing first was introduced to implement IB and CLPKC. 20 years, no? Approximately 20 years ago, maybe, I don't know. Bonnet Franklin, those are written. In the notes, top of the notes, the author name is given. If you search in the Google Scholar, identity based encryption and Bonnet and Franklin, the author names written on the top of the notes. You can download the original paper from which these slides have been prepared. So you can read. So many recent researchers in public key cryptography domain to implement aggregate signature. You know the idea of aggregate signature? Thousands of millions of messages, you have to verify the signature. One by one you can do. There is another way. You merge all the signature to generate a single signature and verify that thing, or send that signature along with the messages. You don't have to send 1 million signature. How can you implement that thing? Using bilinear map. Homomorphic encryption, it is specifically used in cloud computing. Data in encrypted form is kept in the cloud. Then how can you do some computation on the encrypted data? It is implemented in different ways, but bilinear map is one of the ways. Public data integrity checking. Data is kept at the cloud. How another party can check the integrity of the data kept at the cloud without downloading the data, without disclosing the data. Anonymous authentication, this is used particularly in intelligent transportation systems where anonymity, and many other places also. Not only intelligent transportation systems. This anonymous authentication, anonymous meaning I will not disclose my identity. Still, how can you authenticate the message that it is coming from a valid member of IIIT? I will not disclose my identity. That is called anonymous authentication. This was when first introduced, was basically used in VANETs and ITS, Vehicular Ad Hoc Networks and Intelligent Transportation System. Vehicle are moving in the city and no driver or vehicle owner is interested to disclose his identity to the other vehicles. Still, how can they verify the messages? But nowadays, a new area of research is evolving called privacy preserving data mining, which is a overlapping between machine learning, data mining, machine learning and cryptography. As I have explained to him someday, that for example the medical data, patient data, all collected from all pathology, pharmacy and hospitals are gathered in a single cloud. Then you have to do some analysis on that data to extract some research information, meaning medical science research information. But in that process, the privacy of the patient should not be violated. How can you do that thing? Preserving the privacy of the patients, how can you do data mining? Called privacy preserving data mining or privacy preserving machine learning is a very hot topic today. That also can be implemented using bilinear map. सब कुछ यूज हो रहा है. To implement your blockchain also bilinear pairing is getting used. You were saying bilinear pairing is being used to implement this thing. I am saying वो तो है ही. To implement your blockchain also bilinear pairing is being used. Are you getting the point of it? Attribute based encryption technique है. These are areas where bilinear pairing is being used. So there are many different areas of research, specifically in public key cryptography, modern public key cryptography, all are applying bilinear pairing. So if you understand these few notes and papers, you will be in a stage to understand all these papers in any of the areas. Like some examples I have included in this slide. See the references. Read the title bold in the bold face. See in what year it has been published and in which venue it has been published, which conference or which journal. Then I have to explain nothing. So if you read the titles of the papers, then you can see falling in either of those categories that I have mentioned just now, and in many good conference and journals and published recently also, like 2017, next slide. 16, 18, 19, 18. Next, or hai? No. Previous slide. Then you can see the venues. This is IEEE transactions. Then ACM conference, this one. This conference is also very high category conference, International Cryptology Conference. This is IEEE transaction, this is IEEE transaction. Next slide. That is also IEEE transaction. This is also transaction. Infocom is very good conference. These are journals, SCI journals, transactions, and see the titles, checking public data integrity, checking in blockchain, attribute based encryption in blockchain. All these are using bilinear pairing. This is also attribute based encryption, that is also attribute based, that is also attribute based encryption, that is aggregate verification, meaning aggregate signature, match verification meaning also aggregate signature verification, privacy preserving meaning anonymous authentication. Previous one is also anonymous authentication. Previous slide. This is also anonymous authentication. This is also anonymous authentication. Quantum homomorphic encryption. Homomorphic encryption. This is also homomorphic encryption for IoT. Applications could be, now I have said about the purpose only. Application domains could be IoT, ITS, cloud, everything. So any of these papers, a recent paper, and there are many more, of course. I have only included few samples. On these topics, if you try to download, then you will get around 100 papers. So read all these papers. That will be your survey for your research.